Francine Smith has the highest body count out of any TV character ever. We're talking numbers that make Quagmire's 1000 look modest. So, how many you ask? Well, Francine planted a rosebush for every different guy that she's been with.
Rumor has it within its unexplored depths lives an Indian tribe who have never seen a white man.
So yeah, Franny got around.
Pop it up! Give me some of that Franny! Give me some of that Franny!
But even when she finally settled down, married Stan, and became an all-American suburban housewife, her romantic life didn't stop there, because since then, she's had flings with cyborgs, robots, and even Jesus Christ. So in this video, I'll be going through the entire love life of Francine Smith. We're talking the hookups, the ex-fiancés, backup husbands, future husbands, alternative realities, and everyone else in between. But most importantly, by the end, we'll figure out together who Francine should be with if Stan wasn't in the picture. Let's get into it.
Those lips, hips, and face, bodies all over the place.
By the way, what do you guys think of my new office? All the items in it are thanks to you guys for suggesting what I should include in it. Of course, there's the golden turd, the Peter copter, Brian's book, a stuffed Reggie. I even have my own Klaus too. This background was made by the amazing Feedback King, whereas my avatar is drawn by Spider-Man 2, and I've linked their X accounts down in the description below. I'm currently also redoing my Simpsons room over on my other channel, so if you have any ideas for that, then please let me know. So, starting all the way back in high school, Franny already had a reputation. In fact, she was known by this nickname.
Super Friend. Actually, it was Super Mouth. Actually, it was Suck Machine.
Soon after graduating, Franny became a groupie who flashed just about everything to get backstage at concerts. And along the way, she hooked up with Adamant, one half of ZZ Top, and all 5 members of Dexy's Midnight Runners. And although she left that part behind her after meeting Stan, she would dust off her old tricks to help him get backstage to meet his favourite musician.
Thanks, Francine. Thanks, girls. And thank you, ma'am.
In the intro of this video, I did mention her sprawling rose garden. So obviously, because of the sheer size of it, we haven't even seen 1% of the men she slept with before settling down in the show. But just to emphasize the number again, in season 18's Better on Paper, Stan discovers a box of love letters that she's kept. But when he confronts her about it, she brushes it off.
They're just mementos I saved, so our grandkids will know Mima was a smoke show.
Now, I will come back to this episode later on in the video, but this heavy shoebox overflowing with love letters just shows the impact she has on men. Therefore, it is to be expected that before settling down with Stan, Francine almost married a different man. Yep, in season 4's Choosy Wives Choose Smith, Stan tells Francine that he got his pilot's license, and rather than being impressed, she is horrified. This is because before Stan, she was engaged to a pilot called Travis, and one day Travis's plane crashed and he was presumed dead.
That's just a reenactment of what I did when I found out.
But just a few months later, Travis turned up alive, but by that point, she and Stan were already engaged. Francine never told Stan because she was worried that he'd overreact. And yeah, she was right to do so, because although he puts on a brave face, he predictably becomes insecure about being Francine's second option. So he and Roger track Travis down to see what Francine liked about him. They find Travis at his ranch in Montana, and he's basically every woman's dream man. He's strong, compassionate, and pretty much everything that Stan isn't.
He makes me look like you, and you look like you with your shirt off.
When they get home, Stan tells Francine that he met Travis and believes that she's settled.
I love you, and I'm happy. Now leave me alone!
Of course, Stan doesn't take the hint and sets up a fancy dinner date between her and Travis to give her the choice that she didn't have 20 years ago. And afterwards, she tells Stan that there was no spark between them. So this should be great news for Stan, right? Well, no, because Roger gets in Stan's ear again and tells him that if he really wants to know who Francine would choose, then he'll have to disappear for a while.
I've hidden cameras everywhere in our house so we can watch Francine get the news that I've gone missing. Then Travis will show up to comfort her.
But when a tsunami hits the CIA island that he's chilling on, they become lost at sea for real.
Francine loves me, and I know she'll wait for me no matter how long it takes.
I've waited long enough.
After 3 months, Stan finally discovers that Roger can float on water and uses him to get back home. And when he returns, he's shocked to find that Travis and Francine are living together. But then Francine confesses that she was only pretending because she noticed all the cameras inside of the house and figured out that Stan was up to some kind of shenanigans, so pretended to get back together with Travis just to make Stan jealous.
Francine, a tsunami wiped out our equipment. We were stranded on a rock. I didn't see a thing.
That is so funny.
Francine, I missed you so much.
And needless to say that Travis was not too thrilled to hear any of this.
You're both complete lunatics. You two are made for each other.
And in a crazy way, this episode perfectly showed why Stan and Francine are meant to be together. They both have a twisted side that can only really be handled by someone equally as twisted. Basically, they match each other's freak. If Travis hadn't have disappeared in that plane crash 20 years earlier, I honestly couldn't see them lasting in the long run. He wouldn't be able to handle Francine's chaotic side in the same way that Stan can. Travis needs someone a whole lot more wholesome, and that's just not Franny. At this point, I want to say a huge thank you to this video sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free tool that makes looking after your health so much easier by supplying you with high quality in-network doctors. Whether you're looking for a good midwife, have an urgent care need, or finally booking that much needed dentist appointment. You can compare more than 150,000 verified doctors across 200 plus specialities before then narrowing it down by location and insurance. And what I really love is that you can see real reviews and available appointment times and then book instantly online there and then. Speaking candidly, when I finally build up the courage to call the doctors, I'm then put on hold for ages to then speak to a rude, unsympathetic receptionist who then tells me there are no appointments for weeks. But with ZocDoc, you can take your health into your own hands, skip all that hassle, and in many cases get seen within 24 to 72 hours, or even that same day. I know it may seem small, but just clicking the link in the description of this video is a huge step towards prioritizing your health. So stop putting off that doctor's appointment and go to ZocDoc.com/LydiaLoves to search for top-rated doctors today. And again, it's completely free. Thanks again to ZocDoc for partnering with me and for helping us all take better care of our health. So, back to the past, and with Travis presumed dead, a hitchhiking Franny was picked up by Stan. And after Mercy killing a raccoon they ran over, they fell in love and the rest is history. Well, actually, no, not quite right. Because the day before their wedding, she got drunk and hooked up with another guy. And 9 months later, Haley was born.
Hey, Francine, you make coffee?
She kept the secret from Stan for many years and probably would have never have told him if it wasn't for Haley needing a kidney transplant. And since Francine has just won herself, Stan offers his up, and that's when she drops the bombshell.
There's a chance you're not Haley's father. Just someone I met in a bar and had sex with in the coat room.
The true parentage of Haley remains to be one of American Dad's biggest mysteries. Now, I personally believe that Stan is her real dad, but even so, it would be interesting to see Joel return. At the end of the day though, it doesn't matter who Haley's biological father is. What matters is who was there raising her for all those years. Obviously, cheating on her fiancé was very wrong, but as we saw, there was no real special chemistry between Francine and Joe. He was just there in the right place at the right time, and she was dealing with pre-wedding cold feet. And on the plus side, at least Haley came out of it. Maybe she did. Now, let's move on to George Clooney. Back in the early 2000s, I think Clooney would have been on a lot of women's free pass lists. But Stan and Francine aren't interested in free passes to sleep with other people. They instead have kill passes.
Yours can still be George Clooney.
Clooney, you smug bastard.
Instead of staying as just a random throwaway joke though, this actually comes back in the first season finale, Tears of a Clooney. And here we get an actual explanation as to why Francine hates this beloved actor. So it turns out that Fran had a bit of a part in an old TV show called Scarecrow and Mrs. King. And her one scene was interrupted.
Can I help you folks with your bags?
Even all these years later, she believed that Clooney stole her thunder. Now, you may be wondering why I've included a guy that she hates on her list of loves. And that's because she makes him fall in love with her. At the time, Clooney was known as Hollywood's most eligible bachelor and had never really fallen in love. So she wants to get back at him with the worst torture of them all.
Break his heart and watch him cry until his eyeballs bleed.
And as crazy as that sounds, Stan is all on board and uses his CIA connections to get close to Clooney while he films a movie. With Stan as Clooney's new bodyguard, the two surprisingly get along well, and that's when Francine catches Clooney's eye.
Wow, Cloontang, from the look on your face, I'd say that's love at first sight.
Later, Clooney and Francine properly meet at a bar where they bond over their love of Guinness, and their fake love story begins. Everything has gone according to her plan, except that she doesn't count on Stan getting too attached as Clooney's friend, and warning him about what's really going on. He reveals that Francine is really a housewife from Virginia, but neglects to tell him that he is her husband. In a way, it is good that Stan broke up a petty revenge plot, but still, you can't help but feel bad for Francine because she put so much work into this scheme. But this makes Stan realise that he created a monster out for blood.
I must kill him.
Stan cuffs her to a pole in an attempt to cool her down, but doesn't realise that she'd be willing to cut off her own hand to get to Clooney. The two battle as they drive up a mountaintop spa, all the while the movie star has no idea what's going on. And just as Francine is ready to strike him with an axe, Stan asks what this is really all about. And that's when it all clicks. Movie stars like Clooney get to live this effortless life. No stress, no school lunches, and no cleaning the house like a typical housewife. And that's when Francine realises something. Clooney doesn't have what she has, a real loving family. And despite not letting Francine break Clooney's heart, Stan made up for it by breaking up with him the worst way possible.
I can change.
It's not you, George. It's me.
As for Francine's love life, there's not much to take away from this since she had a vendetta against Clooney and never actually liked him, but it does show how far Stan is willing to go to help his wife, even if it means her romancing a Hollywood hunk and almost killing him. All in all though, it is still very impressive that she won the heart of Hollywood's most coveted bachelor of the 2000s. This episode perfectly encapsulates a few things about Francine. 1. She has a vengeful, violent side. 2. She knows she's a total knockout who could make anyone fall for her. And 3. She and Stan are truly made for each other. Let's go from Hollywood A-list George Clooney to a German talking fish. Back in the early seasons, Klaus was so horny for Francine. Like seriously, this is the first scene of the entire series.
Stick your naughty pinky finger into mine bowl and let me feel you.
Klaus.
As I went into detail in my Klaus Love Life video, his main character trait was basically wanting Francine.
Oh, Francine, I can see your Schmutzplätzchen.
Similar to Family Guy with Brian madly in love with Lois. And like Lois, Francine never took any of Klaus's flirting seriously because, well, he's a frickin' fish. But in season 1's Finances with Walls, we saw just how far Klaus was willing to go for Franny. When Francine opens up a muffin kiosk at the mall, Stan is pissed that he doesn't have someone to cook for him. And as it so happens, Klaus is a fantastic cook, so Stan puts him in the body of an Earth, Wind and Fire cover band member. So what does Klaus do with this life-changing opportunity? Well, he goes and gets revenge on Stan by trying to hook up with his wife.
How many eggs should I eat to get enough energy to plow your wife?
3 should do it. What?
So in his new body, Klaus struts his way over to the mall where Francine's working. And while she isn't interested in this flirty, handsome stranger, she is impressed that he's actually interested in her business ideas. When they sit down to talk, Francine's a little flattered by his compliments. Not the usual stuff about her appearance, but about how smart she is. When Stan arrives at the mall, he's furious that Klaus actually treated her well.
Oh my God, you respected her? You're dead, Klaus!
Just as Klaus's ruse is exposed, an eco-terrorist group blows up the giant Native American statue. Stan pushes Francine out of the way and Klaus's new body is crushed. And despite being deceived by him, they saved Klaus by putting him back inside the body of a goldfish. Thankfully, this was also around the same time where the show started moving away from Klaus constantly wanting to hit on Francine. After this episode, the writers toned it down and Klaus became a much better character for it. His relationship with Francine works far better as a friendship than some kind of one-sided crush. And they're also incredibly entertaining when they're at each other's throats. Nowadays, it almost seems like Klaus's infatuation with Francine never happened at all. That said, the show did do a small callback to it in season 17.
Francine, let me swim around in your mouth. Oh, this is from me when I was obsessed with her.
And this does make me wonder, what would have happened if Stan hadn't exposed Klaus? Obviously we know Klaus wants to get laid because he wasn't subtle, but was Francine even a little interested? Or did she just enjoy having someone who respected her ideas and didn't treat her like a housewife? Of course she wouldn't have done anything because Franny is loyal despite all of the many temptations that have come her way. I mean, she isn't Lois Griffin, who has definitely cheated on her husband more times than I can count. But saying that, I'm not totally letting Francine off the hook here because there have been many hints that she may not be as loyal as she appears. But before I dive into all that, let's first talk about another unrequited love, Linda. So, a forgotten character from American Dad's early days is definitely Linda, who first appeared as the Smiths' next-door neighbour in Season 1's Homeland Insecurity. And here Stan's Islamophobia was on full display when he assumes the Memaris are terrorists solely based on the fact that they're Arabic.
What the hell are you doing?
What? I like to check orifices for explosives. It's a quirk, indulge me.
Things then spiral out of control when Stan ends up imprisoning the entire neighbourhood. Eventually, Francine helps bring him to his senses and is apologetic for her husband's behaviour, and Linda is willing to put it behind them and become friends. We then get to see that friendship blossom 10 episodes later in Season 1's Not Particularly Desperate Housewives. Francine and Linda are out shopping when they spot the Ladybugs, a women's social club of housewives that she desperately wants to join. So when Francine suggests going to an art auction where the Ladybugs will be, Linda would much rather stay at home and work on their puzzle.
Let's do the rest of the puzzle without looking at the box. Flying blind! Woo!
Linda definitely sounds like someone I'd want to hang out with. Francine attends the art gallery anyway in an attempt to impress the Ladybugs, and she actually does, but not in the way she expected. You see, after confronting the valet who spilled wine on her dress in the janitor's closet and being jumped on by a chicken, she gets the bugs' attention.
It seems you have more in common with us than we thought.
I do?
It turns out what really brings the Ladybugs together is that they're all having secret affairs. They assume Francine is sleeping with the valet, and even though she's not, she keeps up the lie just so she could be a member. When Linda later sees her hanging out with the Ladybugs, they're unnecessarily cruel to her, and Francine doesn't stand up for Linda.
I get it. By the way, under that covered bridge in our puzzle, there was a family of ducks.
When it's time for them to go clubbing and bring their side guys, Francine comes clean and attempts to leave the group. But they don't let her off easy since she has dirt on them, so they want her to sleep with someone else so they can have dirt on her too. And the stakes are life and death because Francine discovers that a woman who supposedly died in a shopping cart accident was actually murdered by the Ladybugs. And since Stan is too concerned over a puppy they adopted, Francine is all on her own. And just when it seems like she's about to be killed, Linda steps in and does the last thing that anyone expects. This kiss convinces the Ladybugs that Francine is having an affair after all, and they let her live. And naturally, Francine assumes the kiss was all part of an act.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Fake.
By the end of the episode, it's pretty clear that Linda is unhappy in her marriage and has developed feelings for Francine.
I better get home to my husband because I love him and I'm so sexually attracted to him.
So, where does their relationship go from there? Well, in the very next episode, Rough Trade, Linda and her husband Bob see Stan drunkenly talking to Roger on the phone. And since they think he's talking to Francine, Linda immediately starts singing her praises.
And pretty.
Oh, great. I know where this is going. Can I at least watch this time?
Later in the episode, Linda rings the Smith's doorbell and even unbuttons her shirt. And instead, she gets Stan answering the door drunk and notices Francine has a black eye. She assumes Stan gave it to her, but in reality, it was caused by Roger during an accident.
Walked into a door.
Ha! Gotta watch out for those doors, Francine. They're gonna get you.
Across these two episodes, we see that Linda is clearly into Francine, who is completely oblivious to this infatuation.
Francine, how's it going? Oh, screw it.
And I actually think this could be a really funny recurring gag, kind of similar to Moe's crush on Midge in The Simpsons.
I don't ask her for no water. She's lying, Homer. She's lying. She told me you were dead.
Unfortunately, Linda was pretty much pushed into being a background character, and in season 14's Cheek to Cheek, a stripper story, we get this bombshell.
And Linda Memari passed away.
Overall, I think it is a shame that the writers never did more with Linda's crush on Francine. Even one joke every few seasons could have kept the running gag alive. And I think it would have been really interesting to see how Francine would have reacted if she ever figured it out. Would she have been flattered? Would she have let Linda down gently and stayed friends? I mean, we have seen that Franny isn't opposed to having a good time with other women, like in season 5's My Morning Straitjacket. And then afterwards, Franny invites that same woman to join her and Stan for a good time. So far we've talked about women having hots for Franny, and we've also seen fish lust over her. So now let's talk about aliens. You should know by now that it can't be an American Dad Love Life video without the inclusion of Roger. And this is because every single member of the Smith family has had at least one love affair with the resident alien, even if they don't know it at first.
We went on 7 dates! 9. I roofied you on 2 of them. Nothing happened. Wink, wink.
And therefore, Francine and him should come as no surprise to anyone, and man, their relationship is very complicated. It goes all the way back to season 2's Camp Refugee, where Stan and Hayley are off in Africa trying to get Steve back, all the while Francine is disappointed that she has nobody to attend an art show with. And that's when Roger insists on tagging along, and for their cover story, Roger decides that he'll be a professor while Francine will play his wife. They're completely committed to the bit. They start inventing details about their fake lives and therefore flesh out their personas as they go. And before long, they take their characters to a country club. They then befriend a couple and invite them over to dinner. At first, everything is going great, but soon they start creating so much backstory that they stumble into one detail that they can't agree on. Roger wants his character to be a political science professor, while Francine insists that he should be an economics professor. And that's when the insults start flying.
I'm just saying to the attractive girl that you used to look good before you went to rehab.
I never went to rehab.
You have now.
Even when the other couple escape from them, they're still fully in character and actually end up making up after their fight. And that's the last we ever see of Jordan and Amanda as personas. Of course, this episode isn't really about Roger and Francine's love because it's more about the messed up fake marriage that their personas had. I just loved how deep it got with their characters and their backstory before it then spiraled into complete madness. But hey, this isn't the end of Fran and Roger's very weird, complicated relationship, because in season 2's The Magnificent Stephen, Roger develops a major crush on Hayley.
Look, he says I'm the prettiest girl in the house.
Last time I checked, I lived in this house too.
Now, Francine obviously isn't actually into Roger, she's just jealous that he thinks Hayley's prettier than her.
I thought you were drawing me.
I was, but I never realized your mother had the wabam!
The next day, Hayley shows off her new makeover to Roger, and this leads to them arguing over Hayley's stuffed bras and Francine's age-defying makeup. And that's when they realise that Roger has been filming the entire thing for his own benefit.
You submit footage of your best mother-daughter scratch fest and they send you a free t-shirt.
At that point, it hits them that they basically turned into animals just to impress Roger, and neither of them are actually into him, they're just insanely competitive. Francine prides herself on being a hot mama and can't stand the idea of someone finding anyone else hotter than her, even if it is just a gross alien preferring her daughter.
Francine, doesn't she look terrific?
Nah.
2 seasons later, in the episode Chimdale, she and Roger pretend to be a couple again. This time it's because a spa detective is suspicious of them sneaking Hayley into the hotel, and to really convince him, they're forced to make out in front of him.
Honey, not in front of the detective.
And even after the detective buys it and leaves, Roger wants a little more.
Get in your suitcase and don't come out till you hear me say, I'm done, go clean up, you disgust me.
At the end of the episode, when Stan arrives at the hotel, Roger just casually admits to making out with Francine.
Yeah, Stan, I'm bald and I made out with your wife.
What?
This is very funny because a season later in the episode Merlot Down Dirty Shame, it's made into this big huge dirty secret when Roger kisses Francine again. When Stan bails on his wine tasting trip with Francine, he suggests Roger go with her instead. Stan also trusts Roger to keep other guys away from Francine.
Oh, and watch her back for horn dogs. A lot of sweet Pete's up in the wine country looking for an easy lay.
I'm the vagina goalie, got it.
They get drunk at the winery, have a great time, and really start bonding. Then they end up back at the hotel room and Roger kisses her.
Roger!
What?
God! Why did you do that?
I'll go to the car, okay? Ow!
The next day they chat about what happened and they agree that they should put the kiss behind them. But what they don't agree on is whether or not to tell Stan about it. Francine wants to tell him the truth, but Roger absolutely doesn't. Left with no other option, he knocks her out and buries her alive inside a wine box to buy some more time.
Don't panic. I'm just keeping you down there until I can fix things.
When Francine somehow manages to dig herself free, Roger comes clean. Well, kinda. In his version, Francine kissed him.
He's lying, Stan!
No, I'm not. Stan, this is a high-five truth.
Stan even talks about divorce, which could mean losing the house in the attic, and this is where Roger finally caves in, knocks Stan out, and buries him in the wine box to tell him the truth.
I'm gonna rip your head off!
Okay, so you need more time.
Later, Stan beats Roger up and gives her their friendship necklaces as earrings, which is honestly a very fitting punishment. And even though the whole thing is framed around that kiss, it's not really an affair story. It's more about how one bad decision can turn into an even bigger mess when someone doesn't act like an adult. Francine at least deserves a bit of credit here for wanting to actually be honest, even when it does get uncomfortable.
Look, if I don't tell Stan and he ever found out, then this thing that meant nothing would suddenly mean something.
And while Francine and Roger are better off as friends, a part of me wouldn't mind seeing Jordan and Amanda come back again.
Tell them how you killed our baby, Amanda.
Jordan, no!
So now let's talk about her backup husband, Jim. In season 4's Wife Insurance, Stan goes on a CIA mission and Francine starts worrying about losing him. These concerns are validated when Stan is kidnapped and held hostage in Colombia. Fortunately though, Stan and his partner Jim manage to escape and he returns home safe after 5 days.
If I smell at all like sex, it's because of Jim. I was on his heels as he porked our way through 200 miles of jungle.
And while she's relieved that he's alive, she can't help telling him what would have happened if he didn't make it. She speaks poetically about how she wouldn't find a romantic partner because Stan is her one true soulmate, and the memory of their love would sustain her for the rest of her days. But then she asks Stan what would happen if she died.
Oh, I'd marry Meg Penner, my backup wife.
Turns out that he and Meg, who is also their dentist, already have an agreement that if one of their spouses die, they then get married. Stan thinks this is totally not a big deal, but Francine of course thinks it is and wants Stan to break off the arrangement. And when he refuses, Francine gets her own backup husband, who is Stan's partner Jim.
I'm honored. I mean, I'll be sleeping with your wife someday. That makes us like brothers or something.
Does Francine really intend on marrying Jim if Stan dies? Probably not, but she knows this is the best way to get Stan's attention and make him realise why having an automatic backup is really hurtful. That said though, if Stan did die, Jim wouldn't exactly be the worst backup option. He's good looking, has a great body, and he's the guy who actually helped Stan escape from Colombia. As much as Stan was committed to his backup wife idea, he eventually gets the message and ends things with Dr. Penner. Stan then tells Jim that he doesn't need to be Francine's backup husband anymore. But Jim has other plans.
Sorry, but she's a happily married...
Stan survives this fall by landing on what appears to be the world's largest falafel before then taking a hot air balloon back to the United States. He gets back home just in time before Jim arrives to lie to Francine about his death. They fight through the house until they find Francine being held at gunpoint by Dr. Penner.
I love you, and my heart has a cavity that only you can fill.
Both Stan and Francine fight their quote-unquote successors to a bloody pulp, while at the same time recognizing each other's mistakes.
There's a lot of things you should make backup plans for, but love isn't one of them.
Meg at least saves Stan out of love by shooting Jim, and Stan then takes advantage of this by knocking her out. And that's the end of Jim and any potential love life with Francine, which is honestly for the best because while Jim may seem like the whole package on the surface, he was truly psychotic. He's even more unhinged than Stan, and that's really saying something. And even if Stan had died, I don't think Francine would have actually married Jim. She only made that agreement to make Stan jealous, not because she actually liked him in that way. And although Stan said he'd move on if Francine ever passed, that's not true, which leads us on to Cyborg Stan. So who else could be Francine's true love besides Stan? Well, it turns out Stan himself, but in robot form. Season 5's May the Best Stan Win starts with Stan being a terrible husband by going to Hershey Park without her, and what's worse is that he doesn't even have anything planned for Valentine's Day. She's frustrated that Stan is taking her for granted, especially after she gets them a couple's coffin so they could be buried together when they die. But Stan ruins the moment by telling her that he plans on becoming a cyborg instead.
Francine, it's till death do us part. At death we part.
Later, while sleeping on the couch, Stan tries to make it up to her by saying that he'll be buried next to her after all. He even tears up the contract to prove it. Except future robot Stan shows up and reveals that the paperwork he tore up wasn't the agreement at all. It was the dishwasher warranty. Cyborg Stan explains that in the future, machines rise up and try to destroy humanity, and the only one who can stop it is Stan himself. So on Valentine's Day, Stan is way more focused on training to help save the world than actually spending any time with his wife. And that's when Stan comes up with the idea of letting Cyborg Stan take her out instead. Francine is initially annoyed with spending the day with Cyborg Stan, but she soon warms up to him. This future version of her husband is everything that she wishes her actual husband was. He's attentive, present, and actually focused on her needs.
It's Stan who spent 1,000 lonely years without you, man, and realized you're the most important thing in the world, eh?
In a way, Cyborg Stan is making up for how bad of a husband he was by going back in time and rescuing Francine from the bad version of himself. And the present and future versions of Stan are so different that it feels like she is choosing between two completely different guys.
How could you sleep with another man?
He's you! A more thoughtful version of you.
So Stan begs Francine to give him one more chance and promises to give her a proper romantic day. But Cyborg Stan sabotages his past self by changing the time on his alarm clock, and when he wakes up, he finds that the two of them are together at Hershey Park. When they start brawling, the cyborg initially dominates him, but Stan figures out something very important. He can just rip up his CIA robot contract to stop his cyborg self from ever existing.
What's it gonna be, essay? What you want? Or what she wants?
What I want? Duh! Oh my god, what am I saying?
He decides that Francine being happy matters more, even if that means losing her to someone else, even if that someone else is himself. He's ready to walk away until he hears the paper tear.
That's all I needed to hear.
The cyborg aims to take Francine away, but Stan kicks him off course and into molten hot chocolate. Fast forward to the future, and both Stan and Francine are buried together holding hands, which is both sad and kinda cute. Not for the first time, Stan learned not to take Francine for granted. Even though she's always been a loyal and very loving wife, someone better could always come along to take her away from him. And in this case, it was literally a better version of himself.
I'm a married woman.
Yeah, you're married to me, Heina.
Oh, I guess.
But what makes Cyborg Stan appealing isn't the tech or the abilities, it's that he's actually present, attentive, and emotionally available. No CIA upgrades are needed for that, just effort. At the same time though, Cyborg Stan also showed a darker side when he manipulated things like the alarm clock and refused to back off when Francine chose Stan. In the end, human Stan is still the far better long-term partner for Francine, even with all of his flaws.
I'm never going to let go of this hand ever again.
This also marks the first time Francine sleeps with someone else while married, but can you technically call it cheating if the person she cheats with is literally her husband from the future?
But I'm leaving you. For you. In the future. But now.
Personally, yeah, I'd say it still counts. It doesn't really matter if it's the same guy in a different timeline. From Francine's perspective, she's still crossing that line with someone who isn't her current husband. And speaking of sleeping with someone else, we come to Jesus Christ himself. In season 5's Rapture's Delight, the Smiths are getting ready for Christmas at church.
I can't take you to God's house like that. You look like a $2 whore. And keep in mind that the dollar is weak right now.
With the large mass of people attending the service, Francine has the idea to relieve Stan's stress by giving him some good old church closet sex. What's it with Francine wanting to always get it down in closets? Anyway, after experiencing their own second coming, they notice the packed church is suddenly empty. And that's because everyone has ascended to heaven for the rapture.
It's the end of the world, and we've been left behind!
When they hear that Jesus has returned to Earth, they then try and explain that they were mistakenly left behind, and Stan selfishly points the blame at Francine for seducing him.
Please, Jesus, don't let her moral failings screw me out of paradise!
Moral failings?
Jesus agrees to rapture Stan, and that's the final straw for Francine.
Go to heaven!
Unfortunately for Stan though, that wasn't Jesus.
You're not really Jesus, are you?
Meanwhile, Franny hits it off with a mysterious stranger at the local diner. Turns out, this guy really is Jesus, and he's totally into Francine.
Can you believe it? Jesus thinks I'm good enough for him.
But 7 years later, Jesus tracks Stan down to tell him that Francine has been captured by the Antichrist and needs rescuing, and Jesus has no idea how to get to her, but he figures that as Francine's ex-husband, Stan is the one person that he can trust to help. With assistance from Roger's spaceship, they arrive at the Devil's Lair to confront him and his minions.
Oh, Stan!
Don't get any ideas, doll. I'm just in this for the rapture.
It's here where Francine laughs at one of Stan's cheesy action movie one-liners.
It's raining wise men. Hallelujah.
And for someone who spends a lot of time preaching against envy, Jesus gets jealous and decides to fire off one of his own.
The thigh's the limit.
Funny.
We don't know much about their relationship, but one thing is very clear. The Son of God can definitely perform miracles, but Stan's the only one who can truly make her laugh. But the Antichrist isn't down yet and aims his gun at Jesus. And just like in Season 1's Finances with Wolves, Stan selflessly pushes him out of the way, only this time there's no clock to save him. So as Stan lies dying on the ground, he explains that Francine deserves someone better than him.
I wish I could go back and change the man I was. You're the best, so you deserve the best.
And for his selfless act, Stan ascends to heaven and enters his daughter paradise, his family back on Christmas morning, minus a dead Klaus on the wall.
How do I look?
Definitely not like a whore, baby. Definitely not like a whore.
While this ending is sweet, it still begs the question, where the hell does this fit in with the timeline? Is everything that happens afterwards just part of Stan's heaven, or is the real continuity the version of events where Francine and Jesus end up together after Stan dies? I personally believe that God reset everything after the Holy War ended, basically restoring the status quo as if nothing ever happened. What the episode does make clear though is that no matter who enters the picture, Stan will always be the right person for Francine, even with all of his flaws. At the end of the day, it's pretty obvious that she never truly loved Jesus. And even though we don't get too many scenes of them together, their reunion says a lot.
Hello, darling.
Leave the heartwarming reunion for later.
The spark just isn't there. On paper, Jesus is everything Francine should want. He's kind, selfless, and compassionate. I mean, come on, he's literally Jesus Christ. But the problem is that Francine has never been attracted to perfection. Even if this timeline continued, I do have a hard time picturing Francine and Jesus lasting as a couple. And that's because Jesus is too safe for her. I can't picture Jesus sneaking off to fool around with her in a closet. He's far too saintly for that. Fran needs someone like Stan who can be just as wild and fun as she is. Again, this is all an alternate reality, but there is another timeline where Francine doesn't end up with Jesus or Stan. Instead, she winds up with Principal Lois. In Season 10's Dreaming of a White Porsche Christmas, Stan gets fed up with Christmas shopping before noticing that Principal Lois doesn't have a family to worry about, and so doesn't have any of the holiday pressure.
It's time for me to do what I do best, and that's whatever I want all the time!
As Stan places the star on top of the tree, he wishes for Lois's life, and the next morning, Stan wakes up to find that his family are gone. Everyone except for Roger. Stan and Roger immediately start living it up with their new freedom and decide to track down Brian Lewis to see what other fun they can get into. But when they arrive at his house, the version of Lewis that they meet is nothing like the one they know. He's more mild-mannered and insists that he isn't single.
Francine? What the hell is going on? Lewis has my family!
Well, you did wish for his life. Maybe he got yours.
Roger explains that in stories like this, a wish usually comes with a lesson, and things don't go back to normal until that lesson is learned.
Okay, I learned my damn lesson. Lewis has my shit and I want it back.
Not sure you have. You're calling your family shit.
Of course, Stan doesn't listen and instead takes Francine and the kids hostage at gunpoint. Francine plays along just long enough to get herself and the kids out of there.
It was terrible. He's completely lost it. That poor, poor man.
That pushes Stan right over the edge. He drives towards a bridge and prepares to jump, but a guardian angel appears and tells him that he's learned his lesson and can now reunite with his family. Except, it's not the family that he's expecting. The angel explains that the people Stan thought were his family were just a temporary version meant to teach him a lesson, and now he's been given his real family. The only problem is that Stan wants his old family back, flaws and all. Since Stan has already used his Christmas wish and Roger wasted his on a Porsche, Stan tries to force reality back by getting Mary to wish that they were never married, even going as far as insulting her housekeeping.
Whole table setting looks kinda shabby. And these aren't even Christmas napkins.
Maybe you're right, Stan. Sometimes I do wish we were never married.
It works, and Stan ends up back with his original family.
You're my one and only, baby.
Once again, this episode ends being less about Francine herself and more about Stan's perspective. I kind of wish we got to see a bit more of her side of things, especially her family life with Brian. He almost feels like a better Stan in a sense. He's less reactive and far more family focused, and because of that, it makes me imagine what Francine's life could look like with someone who isn't constantly on edge, less chaotic, and far more normal. But again, it's that dysfunction that makes Stan and Francine work so well. So I'd imagine Franny would probably end up bored out of her mind with this far more low-key version of Brian. Outside of these alternative futures though, Francine is a one-man guy. I mean, even the one other guy that she slept with while married to Stan was literally Stan himself from the future. She's not like Bonnie Swanson, who has had multiple affairs. Or maybe she is. Because in a season 14 episode, it's revealed that she has a secret Tinder account.
I better drive.
Mom, why are you on Tinder?
I said I'll drive.
Could she be seeing guys behind Stan's back? It is possible. After all, it's no secret that she's extremely flirty. Plus, she once made out with Stan's boss right in front of him at a football game, and also got it on with that female security guard. And she also made out with her own daughter's husband. Well, kinda. So, as I said in Hayley Smith's Love Life video, she's had many love interests, but always comes back around to Jeff. Jeff, meanwhile, hasn't had that much action outside of Hayley. But that is until season 14's Enter Stan Man.
Do you have anything for me, Mrs. S?
I guess you can have this.
And just as things start getting really spicy, Francine wakes up. So at breakfast, she decides to tell the family what happened. Everyone finds it hilarious, everyone except for Stan. He hates it so much that he literally asks Francine to never sleep again.
It was just a dumb dream. It doesn't mean anything.
So, as any sane husband will do, he teams up with Roger and enters her dreams. And what he finds is even worse for his ego. Francine doesn't see him as this big macho dream guy at all. Once again, this episode isn't really about Francine's romantic or sexual relationship with someone else. It's more about Stan getting insecure and letting that insecurity spiral so hard to the point where she gets trapped inside of her own dream world, and Stan unleashes dream monster Stanford 2. After a series of complicated dream-related events, Stan is chased by his insecure dream demon and struggles to fight him. That's when he figures out that the demon's strength comes from his insecurity. So his solution is to watch Francine have sex with Jeff while he watches. And when Francine refuses, Stan just does Jeff himself. It's a completely insane and hilarious ending, but still, a part of me can't help but wonder why Francine's brain even went there in the first place, with Jeff of all people. Is it just the taboo ankle that did it for her, or is it just that the only man around her is an alien or a talking fish? I personally believe it's because Francine notices how Jeff is so hopelessly devoted to Hayley, and perhaps she wishes Stan was a bit more like that, and as a result her subconscious conjured up this kind of freakiness. Oh yeah, and drinking Dr. Butt Blast automatic hot sauce right before bed probably didn't help either. So far in this video, we've talked about cyborgs from the future and even Jesus Christ, but our next love interest may be the strangest of all. Yep, in season 18's Better on Paper, Stan finds a box in the closet full of old love notes, and Francine assures him that they're just harmless mementos. Stan overreacts as always and announces to his kids that they're getting a divorce if any of the love interests are legitimate threats.
They're freaking dead! You better back the freak off!
By the way, I love how supportive his kids are here. They don't even question it. Sorting through the love letters, Jeff finds one that is beautifully written and printed on a CIA letterhead. Stan tries to solve it by figuring out which of his CIA co-workers is the best poet. It's only after he borrows Avery Bullock's printer and sees the same CIA letterhead on the paperwork that he starts to suspect his boss. Bullock explains that when an agent joins the CIA, their romantic lobe is surgically removed from their brain. Turns out Stan's romantic lobe was placed into the printer, where it then wrote all of those love letters. So just like with Cyborg Stan, Francine's competition is once again basically just another version of Stan himself. Stan is actually fine with it this time though, because he brings the printer home and treats it like a shortcut for romance. But like every one of Stan's schemes, this soon backfires when the printer starts developing its own agenda.
Run away with me. A queen like you deserves better than this beastly oaf.
Of course it's turning on me. It is me. It wants you all to itself.
Okay, you're trying to murder Stan. Time to go.
Now that his romantic crutch is gone, Stan recruits the kids to help him write love letters, which goes about as well as you'd expect.
And that's why Francine, is so hot.
Meanwhile, Dr. Whiteman finds the discarded printer on the side of the road, and the printer starts to flirt with him.
Hello, handsome.
Later, while Stan is bombing with his homemade love letters, Weitzman shows up and reveals that he's given his new Bowe a major upgrade.
Now that I am a complete man, we can finally be together.
He can give you the romance you deserve.
I don't want to be with a printer!
The printer doesn't take rejection very well and summons his fellow machines to kidnap Francine. While locked in the freezer, Stan comes to this realization.
I've been insecure instead of trusting Francine.
Seriously, how many times has Stan learned this exact lesson by now? Meanwhile, Francine is forced into a date with the printer.
My extender tray is my dick.
I'm not putting that thing in me. It's like a long, flat rectangle.
Oh my god, this is why I love American Dad. So with his insecurities out of the way, Stan returns to destroy the printer, and when the machine is finally defeated, its last message is this: "You're welcome, Stan, that was the most romantic thing you could have done for her." So there you go. In a twisted way, the printer brings out the most romantic version of him by forcing him to stop trying so hard. The lesson isn't that Stan needs to become some poetry writing Casanova, it's that the most romantic thing you can be for your partner is yourself. As for Francine and the printer itself, there was never really any competition here, because, well, it's a printer. The entire relationship is completely one-sided. If anything, the printer serves as another reminder that Francine isn't looking for the most romantic man in the world. She just wants a husband who will listen to her and trust her. And while the machine can write beautiful poetry, it will never understand her as well as Stan can. And let's be honest, the paper tray penis probably doesn't help either.
Go get Dr. Weitzman. Francine needs me to have a less rectangular dick so she can realize she loves me.
So I've covered all of her past and present love interests and admirers, but what about her future? As you may have seen from my Every American Dad Future video, this show has no shortage of alternate timelines. And in at least two of them, Francine and Stan are no longer together. So let's begin by talking about Toshi. Out of all the characters in American Dad, I doubt anyone would have guessed that one of Steve's friends would ever hook up with Francine. And if you did, then you need some serious help. The funny thing is that he's not exactly the easiest to talk to, so it is hard to imagine him romancing anyone. But then again, this is the same guy who wooed and married an adult woman called Svetlana back in season 2's of Ice and Men. And apparently his same charms will work on Francine too. In season 14's No Weddings and a Funeral, which takes place 15 years into the future, Francine is divorced from Stan and is now married to Toshi.
Toshi, you finally learned another language, and you chose French?
That's the kind of kissing he does.
Which means they fell in love without him ever learning English. And while that is kind of romantic in a very bizarre way, it's also incredibly weird considering she's known him since he was a kid. I'm getting big Jada Pinkett Smith vibes here. Unfortunately though, this episode doesn't really spend too much time exploring how this marriage even works. It's more focused on Klaus manipulating the family into feeling guilty about how they've treated him over the years. Still, she does drop this insane bombshell.
When I agreed to marry Toshi, I had him confused with Snot.
That throwaway line raises a lot of questions. Was she dating them both at the same time, or did she really confuse Toshi with Snot the whole time while they were dating? It's still weird no matter what. At the end of the episode, Francine splits from Toshi and remarries Stan. As morbidly curious as I am about how that marriage actually worked, I'm also kind of glad they never dug any deeper. Some mysteries are better left unsolved because, well, the more you think about it, Francine marrying one of Steve's childhood friends is really creepy. Now, let's go from Japanese boys to robots. So, a constant theme in Francine's life is performing the same housewife routine day after day. And that monotonous lifestyle really hits her hard in season 6's Heartbreak Hotel. When the Smiths have to evacuate their home and live in a hotel for a bit, Francine finally has some me time, but doesn't really know what to do with it. And that's when she stumbles into a convention and gets mistaken for an attendee called Sarah Blanche. Finally, she gets to feel like an independent career woman and escapes from her family. Later that evening, when she thinks her fun time is over, she finds out that Sarah booked herself a fancy suite and gets a peek into how nice this life really is. The charade goes so far that she gets a job offer to be a concrete officer manager in Portland, and she actually takes it.
Francine Smith spent her whole life thinking about her family, and what did it do for her? Nada.
And so 10 years pass and she's highly successful, but clearly alone. But at least her assistant Jonathan offers her to join his family for Christmas, which she declines because she hates robots.
But you weren't complaining last night when I spent the better part of 2 hours eating your butt.
So yeah, it turns out that Franny has been banging her robot assistant. Again, this is less about Francine finding love and more about her escaping a monotonous routine. In this brief future scenario, she buries herself in her job and never builds another meaningful relationship. Instead, only finding meaningless pleasure in sex robots. More than anything though, it shows that independence alone isn't what Francine is looking for. She wants freedom from being stuck in a rut. And so those are all the love interests, admirers and romantic detours of Francine Smith. And after going through all of them, one thing becomes pretty clear. No matter how attractive, romantic or downright bizarre the alternative is, Francine always seems to find her way back to Stan. Sometimes it's because the other guys turn out to be a terrible match, sometimes it's because they're machines, and sometimes it's because the competition is literally another version of Stan himself. But out of everyone on this list, if I had to choose someone for Franny that isn't Stan, I'd probably go with Brian Lewis. And that's mainly because he's the only one she genuinely seemed happy with long term. But then again, this was an alternative version of Brian, and not the bat-crazy insane principal version that we know normally. But then again, Francine isn't exactly normal herself. She has a reckless streak, so maybe even the real Lois wouldn't be as bad a match as you think. And so we come to the end of the video. Which of her admirers do you like, or even hate the most? Let's chat about it in the comments below, and let me know what love life I should explore next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.